I've been nursing for 9.5 years. So I started looking into becoming a paediatric first aid instructor for a couple of reasons, really. The first thing that got me thinking about it was I had a couple of friends who had a little baby, was getting to be about 6 months old, and they sent me a message saying, can you come round and just teach us a bit of first aid stuff, because we're weaning her and we don't know what to do about if she's choking and stuff. And it hadn't really occurred to me that people didn't necessarily know that. Being a paediatric nurse and kind of having that background meant that I obviously knew it. And I sort of said to them, I said, well, didn't you go on these antenatal classes? They'd gone on some private classes. They'd raved about how great they were. And I said, well, surely you must have been taught something on there. And they said, nah, nothing. No mention of first aid at all. So that kind of got me thinking, I could do that. I could, I've got children of my own. I've got a background in kind of knowing what to do and in nursing and looking after children. So I got thinking about it. And then I also started thinking about it because my wife, who is a teacher, had been on some first aid training. And when I asked her about it, she just kind of said, yeah, it was all right. And she didn't seem particularly enthused by what she'd been taught for the last couple of days, or particularly confident that if there was an event that she had to deal with something at school, that she'd be able to do anything and be able to step up. But she'd got the qualification and she was signed off for another 3 years. And it kind of got me thinking, well, why don't I give it a go? I feel like I could make a difference and teach people something, but or not just get through the content, give people who need the qualifications and people who just want a 2-hour basic information class enough kind of confidence that they could step up and do something if need be. From working in A&E for a long time, I've seen an awful lot of families come in with either very minor things that have happened at home or much more major things such as choking or children who've stopped breathing, with parents who just didn't know what to do, and they've either not done anything because they're worried and they didn't know how to help in a situation, or they may have done something incorrectly on a more minor thing like a burn and treated it incorrectly and therefore made the situation worse for that child. So I think a bit of basic first aid for parents means that they can deal with any real emergency well and then know when to seek help. Also, we get a lot of people that come into the hospital who don't necessarily need to come, and they've come because they obviously want reassurance about their child who may have had a bump to the head or an injured arm or something from falling, whereas actually if they had a bit more basic knowledge they wouldn't necessarily need to have come and sought that extra advice unless they had more concerns. So I think it would limit the amount of people needing to seek help, but also get them to do that real emergency stuff when they need to. Yeah, I love teaching the classes. I love getting the engagement from parents or from people on the qualification courses, and I really enjoy getting feedback afterwards to say, oh yeah, you know what, I really feel confident doing this now, or I've done something similar in the past but now I really get it. I think it's very laid back, which means that people relax and they ask questions and they get involved and they're not turned off by me reading off a screen or reading off a script or just kind of going through the motions. And that means if they don't quite understand something or they want to clarify something, then they can chip in and they can get that information. I also try to do my best to explain why you're doing something as opposed to just what you're doing. So give them a bit of background behind a particular technique, what you're doing in CPR, something like that. And lots of people have come back to me and said, I've done first aid training before, but I never really worked out what I was doing when I was pushing down on the chest or when I was giving someone breaths and why that would or wouldn't work. And I keep it simple. So you give them the facts, but you make sure that they understand the basics of what they need to know. So they're not overwhelmed with information when they leave, but they're actually able to go away and remember the essential bits of information.